What is purpose anyway? It's a question I know that you've asked and that you've probably sought the answers in coaches and books and taken assessments and created a vision board to try to feel a sense of significance and purpose in this life. I think every human living has asked this question. What is my purpose? Well, that, my friends, is the question we are going to answer today. Welcome to the Letitia Barriola Show. I am Letitia, a former journalist, a podcaster, podcast producer, and I'm really just a woman after God's own heart. I want to fill my purpose on earth. And this topic is sort of hits close to home. So I'm going to walk you through my purpose story, how I have tried to understand it and live it out. And I'm going to bring you to today, like what I have decided the answer is going to be as I live out my life. I'm fairly ambitious. I have big dreams. I have a big vision for my life. And so I take this question really seriously. And I hope by the end of this episode, you have some clarity on not only your purpose, but who you are and what I believe God is calling you to in this season. Because if you're here, then God has something special for you to know. So I'm glad you're here. My confession, sort of, when it comes to purpose is that I have spent a lot of my adult life dreaming, journaling, praying, researching, and truly reaching for my purpose. And some of this is because at an early age, when I was saved and I said the Lord's Prayer, I had a really amazing teenage life. Like, I fell for God hard. And back in the day, so now we're talking like late 90s into early 2000s, there were a lot of on fire for God Christians at the time. Or it was like, it's sort of the culture was going through something where church was cool for a lot of us. And I belonged to prayer groups and FCA. And this led to a lot of words spoken over this generation, right? That we were the up and coming generation and that God has given us something special to go be leaders, to go be great for God. And so I came up under this culture. And I also came from a single parent household. I was raised by a single mom, did not have my father in my life. And so I believe both of those circumstances in my life created kind of this big hole in my heart where I had this big question about well, who am I? What is my significant thing I'm going to do and be in the world? Because when you don't necessarily have the love of your earthly father here to affirm you that you are perfect the way you are and to give you those principles that come from your father or are supposed to come from your father, I don't care what you're always missing that. And it shows up differently for a lot of people. For me, I think as I'm processing all of this, not having my dad in my life made me question my worth in a sense of I want to make a lot of noise. I want to do something great because maybe, just maybe, I'm not so great just as I am. And for the Christian movement that I grew up in, these great prophetic words that we were going to change the world. I believed all of that. And I did believe that I was special and that God had a calling. Don't get me started on the call. You were called. This was the language I was, growing up in, if you will. And so that led into my older years and my 20s and 30s, early 40. I'm 41. So even now it's a little bit more disciplined, but really seeking to understand, well, what is my calling? What is God calling me to do? And how would I relate to my purpose in the world? And there's this third part where I actually enjoy this question and I like hearing different takes and I like looking to God to understand why he created humans. I think maybe that's the most fascinating question in the world. Why did God say, let us make humans in our image? What was that about? Because this is pretty extraordinary. If you go back to the beginning, why? I'm a journalist at the end of the day. Why? And so I do enjoy it, but there's also this internalization that has happened over the years where the questions have sort of gotten in my way at times. And so I think I'm a bit tired of that. At 41, raising a 10-year-old and a 6-year-old, and I have all these accomplishments already behind me, and I have all this much more to accomplish ahead of me. What happens when you're someone like me where you really feel motivated by knowing your purpose and having clarity around your calling, what happens is if like you get in a season where that is kind of fuzzy, it kind of derails everything, you know? Like you stick to your roles, you're still a wife and a mom and you go to work, but like when that big question around who I am and what I'm called to be, if that's sort of what drives you and in seasons that gets fuzzy, that's not a good place. It's not a fun place to be. And it can kind of derail your momentum and what you're working on or where God has you now. So we just going to cut right to it, my friends. I'm tired of going through motivated clarity seasons and then back down to like, well, what is this again? Like, what am I to do again? And fighting all the seeds that have been planted in my life along the way that try to come up and confuse me over and over again. I have figured out this is a pattern, and I have figured out that this may be a pattern that the enemy uses to slow me down, to get me confused. At least that he's the author of confusion. So if we can be confused, we are right where he wants us to be. And so today, my friend, I am declaring, and I am with the strength and the wisdom of God deciding that that all ends today. And you can join me in this agreement. You can join me in this agreement saying, you know what, that ends for me today too. So here's what I'm going to open up to you and invite you into. Before I do, let's talk about purpose a little bit. I think purpose is a big business. There are coaching and books and assessments and gurus that make a lot of money on the business of purpose. And there are endless paths to finding it. If you go looking, you're going to find 1,000,001 different ways to find your purpose in life. And isn't it so tempting to go down each of those paths and see what everybody has to say about your purpose? Well, I'm here to tell you, at least to bring to your attention and mine, to remember that asking that question and everyone saying they have an answer to it, that is a very popular thing to do. I mean, look at me. I'm even doing a podcast on it. This is a more personal journey, right? That I hope that you can learn from. And so just know that like the danger in this is you could spend a lifetime, truly a lifetime, feeling like you'll never fully answer the question of who am I and why am I here? Because culture loves to poke holes and to get you wondering and maybe not feeling as if you already have the answer. Sometimes they make you feel like they have the answer and that you need to read their 10-point framework to figure it out. There's also this bigness to purpose and calling that I think it's very natural for humans to wonder. In fact, I think God almost designed us this way to each of us. I think the Bible even says each of us has eternity set in our hearts. We do wonder what happens next after this, which means we probably wonder, well, what happens now? Why am I here? And I actually think it's okay to recognize the bigness of purpose, to be in awe that we are creatures, humans, that were designed for a reason, and that part of our life's work is to find that reason and embrace it. I think that's okay. This is not a podcast saying we need to stop wondering. I think most of us, especially if you're listening to this podcast, kind of have the answer. It's just maybe not as sexy as you think it is. I'll get to that. But I want you to know, I think we have permission to think and ponder about the bigness and the awesomeness of our purpose. And so we'll naturally fall into that pattern. The problem lies wherein we get paralysis, where the wondering and the awesomeness of purpose and calling and figuring that all out keeps us in paralyzed to even move forward or really truly believe something with our whole heart. I have been there many times, like I said. High highs, I know I got clarity, and then you go back down and you kind of pause because you're like confused about what it is you're really doing and why. We are going to end that cycle today, my friend. Then there's the comparison trap. The comparison trap, looking at other people's lives and thinking, well, that looks exciting. Their clarity is magnetic. When someone is like, has a single focus, is on a mission and has drive and works on that thing, works on the thing, I don't care what you say, like that is actually really attractive to people. And it's almost like, oh, well, you got it figured out. Good for you. And then social media turns the heat up 1,000% because those people are making content, being like, I'm doing my thing. This is me. This is what I'm about. They got all this confidence. They're living their purpose. They know their calling and they're showing you the best of. And so when you're scrolling and you got a big question mark on your heart and you see so-and-so out here looking like they got all the clarity and confidence in the world, it's not helping. We are surrounded by so many voices claiming self-assuredness. If you don't have it all figured out, the pressure is constant. What I want to remind us all is that we're only seeing a snapshot, a millisecond of this so-called self-assured, self-confident, self-made, on a mission, clear as day. Like all of that. We don't know what their sleep is like. We don't know what their prayer life is like. We don't even know if they believe in God. Like some of these people may believe they're their own God, right? So like, I just don't want to idolize random people who just have this grit and drive because we don't really know what's going on the inside of their lives, the interior life. What does that look like for them? I don't know if I want that because the interior for me is doing all right. The exterior, she's trying to figure it out sometimes. You know what I mean? But what we have on the inside just matters so much more. We need this reminder, my friends. And so that's not healthy. So here's where I landed, my friends, in this season. I hope this is helpful for you. For the question of who am I, I've decided I actually know exactly who I am. And I no longer need to ask that question. The who am I question isn't as loud as what is my purpose and calling question, but I think it's all connected. And so I actually want you to answer that question the next time it comes up in your soul. Like, who am I? Answer it. Well, I know for sure I am the creation of the one true living God. I know for sure I'm made in his likeness. I know for sure that who I am as a human, I have been given dominion and authority over all things on this world. I am the top of the food chain. I am the masterpiece of Christ. I was known to him before I came to earth. He knew me before I was born. He knows all the hair on my head, even the extensions, okay? Like he knows how many strands of hair I have on my head. I am loved more by him than anyone else on earth. So simply put, like I am a daughter. And as a woman who doesn't have an earthly father who's in my life, knowing, like answering the question of who I am by saying I'm a daughter of God and like this means these things, that's powerful for me. You should never question that, my friend. That's your answer too. And so what am I to do? So like, what is my purpose? I have decided, drum roll please, that here's what my purpose is right now. To keep Jesus as the singular focus and passion of my heart. So when it comes to action, the doing is you stay in relationship and focused. Eyes on Jesus and keep him the king of my heart, the passion of my heart. From that place, right? I am to love, help, and point people to Christ. That's it. That's the assignment. It's not as sexy. Remember in the beginning, I said it's not, you are called to be a leader in this generation and change the world. Sure, probably, yes. But the mantra, knowing I'm going to keep in my focus of my heart is singular focus is Jesus. He's the passion of my heart. From this place, I'm going to love people. I'm going to help them. And I'm going to point them to Christ. That's it. That's the assignment. Think about what I said. I'm going to love people. The thing about loving people is, guess what? That can look a lot of different ways. I can love people by keeping the door open for them when they walk through. I can ask a stranger how they're doing. Is there, do you need help? I can pray for people. I can do my work in the spirit of helping people, like what I do for work helps people so that it spills into my work life and I can point people to Christ. Like, what are things I can do? Action. I can tell people about God. My life can be a reflection of his glory. So these like the freedom that I find in loving people and helping people and pointing them to Christ in this season right now, what that leads me to is like, okay, there was a time when God told me what to do, like when in terms of my calling and part of my purpose. I know that God has told me to use my voice. I know that my gift is in my voice. I spent a whole career using my literal voice, and he has confirmed and have told me over and over again to use my voice, that the blessing is here. And so when I think about loving and helping and pointing people to Christ, and I think about the best ways that Letitia was created to do those three things, that gets me to what I'm doing right now is using my voice, loving you and pointing you to Christ. And until I get new instructions, more detail, more wisdom on how to love and help and point people to Christ, until he reveals that to me, and he will. You know why he will? Because go back to my first thing. He is my singular focus and he's the king of my heart, which means we are going to be talking. We're going to be in communication. He is in sync with me and I'm in sync with him. So I'm doing what I know to do. And when it's time to do something a bit different, I will know because I'm not doing this outside of him. I think where we get off track is we get so busy with the doing and the work and the building and the creating and the executing that we begin to make these mini worlds that are worlds away from God. We become our own mini God over our little universe. And then we every now pray, be like, God, what am I supposed to do? And he's like, girl, aren't you over there busy doing it? Like now you want to talk to me, So, and it's so easy to do, especially if you are ambitious and you got big dreams. You just want to go. But it's like, what has God already told you to do? And can you get into a posture, into a position where you're so close to him that while you're doing that thing, maybe he'll build it and expand it. Maybe he'll tell you to take a left turn and a right turn. Like the building happens in relationship with him. What this posture does also on top of that, this in tandem with God building and he's talking is a transformed heart happens because we're in his presence, because we're spending time with him. We can't help but change when we're in an intimate relationship with Jesus. We cannot help but change when he has access to all of this. And isn't that what we want? To be more like him? Isn't that really truly the call? What also happens with this, Jesus is my singular focus, love, help, and point people to Christ, like do what he's already told me to do, is you begin to move not in your own strength, but in his strength. And let me tell you, that's like the biggest difference maker. Humans are impressive. We can do look at what we've built. We have towns and red lights and businesses and, right? Like we can do a lot apart from God. It's still powered by God, but you know what I mean? Just imagine if we sort of surrendered all the gifts and the ideas to him. The Bible says that he will power us. He will energize us. He will give us the fuel we need to do good works in the world. I also think this posture of like making him my singular focus and my passion first, and there's scripture to this, guys. It's like love God and love people. Trust God with all your heart, and all these things will be added to you. Sorry, that's not the full thing, but scripture just hit me. This is based off of the Bible. I believe, though, like healing from old wounds begins to happen because I don't care who you are. There's some stuff going on in your heart and your soul that need healing because we live in a fallen world with fallen people who have hurt us. And I think that like an extra, I don't want to call it a benefit, but like part of the gift of being a daughter of God and making him your focus is that he heals your heart. When you're out here doing your thing, your wounds are brought up. Things are brought up that God will reveal to you. and he will begin to work on and heal in you. This is a hard one to explain, but those who know that when you are in tandem, you're in sync, like opening up your spirit, your soul to Jesus, you begin to have a greater sense of peace and joy. And I think some of that is because he's healing parts of you that maybe you've never given him access to before. What also happens is we begin to see beyond what our eyes can see. I think when you're building and you're like moving in purpose outside of God and like that's really your focus, you're nearsighted. You can't see very far. You can only see what your brain can comprehend and think up and what's in front of you. When you are moving in purpose and in calling from this posture of, I'm going to make him my single focus, I believe he gives us eternity vision, eternal vision. Does that make sense? It's like we can see, he gives us discernment and vision around what we're building and what he's doing in the world and how this may contribute to it. Like, gosh, the possibilities are infinite. But when I talk about this, just know that there's like this supernatural vision that he gives you, that he blesses you with when you've given him your eyes and your heart and he's your singular focus. You get to experience true love at its purest form. Your husband and your kids are going to love you good and hard, and your parents and your best friends. But no one can love you like God can. And this kind of closeness I'm talking about, I think that's really like the joy. I can't think of a better indulgence than to feel the love of God on a constant basis. I mean, there's of course seasons where he feels far and all of this, but like making him my heart's singular focus, I believe that at any moment I can always find the love in my heart from him. And that's going to be better than any drug, right? It's the best feeling. And from this fullness, my friends, of like knowing God personally and then moving in that posture, your work is going to flow from that container, from this vessel. So, and everything I just told you about, like, what if I'm really walking in this passion relationship with Jesus and then I go to work or then I go and record a podcast? The work flows from all of this. My kids get a mother who's whole. My voice touches people in ways I am not humanly able to. My life becomes blessed on a deeper, more powerful level. I think this is really and truly what we're in search of when we say, what is my purpose? Who am I and what is my purpose? I think this life of being in alignment, being in the flow, being in relationship where you are in love with God and you're pursuing him and you're in relationship, that means talking to him daily. From that place, you go and you love people and you point them to Christ and you help them and you use your gifts, which you know you're already good at. What has he already told you you do well? Just do that thing. So for me, that's what it looks like. I'm getting back to the basics. I'm sure I'm going to think about ways to continue to do my podcast and promote it. But y'all, I've had many ideas lately, and all of them have led to this like dead end of like, oh, this ain't right. And then go down, do another plan. This ain't it. This don't feel right. And I've realized I just need to keep myself in this pocket of making Jesus my single passion and focus, doing what I know to do. He's already told me to do, love people, help people, point them to Christ, and go to bed and drink my water and raise these kids and be with my husband. Like, do those things. And then every day, I believe he'll surprise me with new ways of growing this, of, I don't know. I don't even want to answer that. You know what I mean? Of doing more of what I love and what I was created to do. He will guide my path. Okay. I hope this was helpful for you, my friend. Please share this with your friends, with someone who may be able to relate. Send me a DM on Instagram. Find me under Letitia Barriola. I would love to hear if this related to you, if God helped you here. You can reach me anytime on the gram, on Instagram. Look at me showing my age. Oh my God, I sound crazy. Okay. Have a good day, everyone.